ओम सदाशिवसमारंभां शंकराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्. The chanting, please.
ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः सुवातुं सत्सलुभिः पश्येमेदं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति न पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति न साक्ष्यो अरिष्टेमि स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्ददातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः.
Okay. So we saw the 19th verse of the Karika last time. 18th verse. Vikalpo vinavartate vilkapo yadi kenachit upadeshadayam vadaha jnatve detam na vidyate. Any questions, clarifications up to now? Or fine. Okay. Now from here we go back to the Upanishad. Okay. Remember the Agama Prakarana, it goes forward and backward a lot. And now here you are doing a kalpana. The Upanishad itself is doing a kalpana of Omkara and the Atma. Okay. It's a kalpana, it's a loading, it's a deliberate adhyasa. Okay. Like when you put a stone murti and say this is Rama, everyone knows it's a stone. Okay. Then you do prana pratishtha to invoke Ishvara there. But Ishvara is all pervading anyway. Okay. So these are religious things done for either some worship or upasana or purely mental worship, etc. Those type of things. Okay. So that is what's being done now with Omkara and the Atma. Okay, so let us look at that. Soyam Atma Adhyaksharam Omkara Adhimatram Pada Matraha Matrascha Pada Akar Ukar Makara Iti. Okay, now here it is. Remember, Omkara is made up of what? Akara, Ukara, Makara. Don't forget the way the original Omkara was made. Okay? Everything is Ishvara. All forms are his forms, all names are his names. Therefore, what name or form are you going to invoke Ishvara in? You can't invoke in a particular form, because if you are invoking a particular this, you are ignoring all other forms. And you can't invoke all forms at one stroke. Nor can you say all names in one stroke. Because when you say a particular name or a particular this, everything else is excluded. No? When I say pen, then book and table and chair and sun and moon and planets, all that is excluded. So if you pick up one form, one name, everything else get excluded. Which is okay if you are doing it with your Ishta Devata, etc. Those type of worships, it's fine. But now you wanted to create a murti, a form that includes everything into it, a name that includes everything into it. So they came up with a very nice this. All forms have names. All names are sounds. And since we are dealing with human beings, all sounds start with the gullet and end with the lips. Therefore, the first basic sound will be because you open your mouth and you're making a noise. Then it'll end with what? Close your mouth and say it aloud. Beginning and end. Choose one to represent everything in between. Ukara. So now you have Akara, Ukara, Makaraha. 3 alphabets making up Om. How do they make up Om? In a phonetical combination. A, U, in a phonetical combination makes it Om. Now please don't chant it Om, Om, Om. Two cows are watching a monk meditating in the open, saying Om, Om, Om. And the cows are looking at each other and saying, they are not even getting it right. It should be moo, moo, moo. Okay. Okay. Now this meditation is meant for human beings, not for the cows, so it's okay. Okay. So Omkara, it's supposed to be Om in a phonetical combination. Okay, A and U together, when you say it fast, we'll make it O and Om. So now you have, and the reality, the Atman, has 3 padas. That's what he's saying here. Okay. Soyam Atma Adhyaksharam. Soyam Atma Adhyaksharam. What is Adhyaksharam? Akshara Adi Matra Padaha Matra. Omkara Adi Matra. And Atma has got padas. What is the pada? Waking, dream, deep sleep. And what is the matra? Akara, Ukara, Makara. So now you are making a one-to-one correspondence between waking, dream and deep sleep to Akara, Ukara, Makara. Okay. How is that? He is saying, the Upanishad is saying further, Jagrita Sthanaha Vaishwanaraha Akaraha. The waker. But waker totality, okay? Because the whole cosmos is now involved. Therefore, Vaishwanaraha. What will be the individual called?
Vishwa.
Vishwa. So Vishwa is individual, Vaishwanara is a total. Pratamaha Matra. Okay. He says, Aptehe Adimatvatvad. Aptaha, because it pervades the dream as well. Plus, it is the first thing that is coming. When you are talking, you will talk about waking as the first. And Omkara, Akara is the first. Okay. Apnoti hai vai sarvan kaman adischa bhavati sa evam veda. Who contemplates on Omkara, focusing on Akara, then what? Sarvan kaman adischa bhavati. Kaman adischa bhavati. You'll get all your desires fulfilled. Okay. Adischa bhavati. You'll become Prathama. You'll become the foremost among human beings. So how do we do this worship? You're going to chant Ah or Om Om Om. Neither. In Omkara, you are going to invoke Vaishwanara, that is consciousness manifest through the totality. Ishvara, in other words. Okay? But Ishvara in the physical dimension. Yeah. Are you getting the idea? If you are invoking, when you are chanting Om, if you are invoking Vaishwanara, then He says this is the avantara phala, the secondary result of it. Or if you are looking at punya papa, then the primary result. Okay, all your desires get fulfilled. All right. Then Swapnastanaha Taijasaha. Swapnastanaha Taijasaha. Totality will become what? What is totality? Hiranyagarbha. Has Moline raised her hand? Or is it my... No, sorry, it is my this thing. Okay. So, Swapnastanaha Ukaraha. That's Ukara stands... It is loaded onto Ukaraha. Dvitiya Mataraha. Utkrashad Ubhayatvad Va. Utkrashahi Bhavati. Why? Because it stands for so many symbols. Therefore, Utkarshaha is exalted. So many alphabets it stands for. So many sounds it stands for. Or Ubhayatvad, it is in between. Ukara is in between Akara and Makara. Dream state is in between waking and deep sleep. Therefore, he says, Utkarshat, Ubhayatvad. Utkart hevai jnanam santati samanascha bhavati na asya brahmavid kule bhavati abrahmavid kule bhavati evam veda. One who worships, okay, or meditates on Omkara with emphasis on Ukara. That means emphasis on prana or Hiranyagarbha, cosmic mind. Okay, then what? Havai jnana santatim samanascha bhavati. He will get a lot of knowledge. It's a lot of knowledge. Samanascha bhavati, because unequaled. Everyone respects him, etc. Asya kule abrahmavid na bhavati. In his family, there will be no one who is born who will not gain Atmajnanam. Arthavada hai. Take it as with a pinch of salt, okay? Because the guy he contemplates like that, he himself may not be a Brahmavid. Okay. But because Hiranyagarbha is cosmic mind and the mind is where knowledge takes place, this is what is equated. Okay. That means what? When he says contemplate on Ukara, he means contemplate on Hiranyagarbha, the cosmic mind. Okay. What about these meditations? Okay. One thing, they are not directly connected with Vedanta, that's why I am not teaching it. Okay. Like meditate on Akara, meditate on Ukara. You do your normal meditations, that is fine. Take Ukara meditation, etc. is how to connect with the cosmic mind so that any insights you want to anything, you can get it. These are all meditations that will take too much of time and effort. Too much of time and effort. Okay? Yeah. And you will have to spend an hours every day for years before you can get this thing. So it's better that you use the normal Pancha Pramanas that you have to know what you want and study Vedanta and gain moksha. Okay? Yeah. These meditations are there. I have experimented just to know what it is about. I have also not bothered to connect with the cosmic mind. Revade. Doesn't matter. Okay? You can do it. Yeah. But not necessarily.
Cultivation is close or what? Is cultivation close to the thing Hiranyagarbha?
What is that?
Is cultivation close to Hiranyagarbha?
No. It is cultivation is working with the prana. That is true. But these meditations are more meditations, not pranayama exercises. These are meditative exercises. Okay. All right. Asya kule Brahmavid na bhavati. That's nice. All my descendants will become Brahmavid. Hey, first try to become a Brahmavid yourself. Then we'll talk about your descendants, okay? Otherwise, you're wasting 20 years doing this meditation so that nobody in your kula is Abrahmavid and you yourself what? End up Abrahmavid. फायदा क्या हो गया? It's arthavada, exaggeration to highlight the importance of knowledge. That if you do this meditation, etc., people will seek knowledge in your family. That's all. Then sushupta sthanaha prajnaha makaraha tritiya matra mitehe apite va minotya sarvam sarvam apitascha bhavati evam veda. Sushupta sthanaha prajnaha. The prajna, sushupta, is what? Makara. It's taken as makara. Why? Tritiya matra, that's the third matra. Mitehe apitehe va. Okay? Mitehe. Mitehe means to measure. The measure is talked about because in olden days when they are measuring grain, they will put the grain into something known as a para. In Malayalam it is known as a para. Okay? It's some sort of a measure. You'll pour into it and then pour out. Pour into it, pour out. Pour into it, pour out. So same thing happens. You go into deep sleep, you come out. Go into deep sleep, you come out. So that's why he said mitehe. Or he'll say as absorption. Okay? Apitehe va. It's a place of absorption because everything gets absorbed into deep sleep. Minoti hava idam sarvam apitosh bhavati evam veda. If you do upasana on this, then you will become the place of absorption for everyone. Meaning, you are one with Ishvara. Ishvara is what? Unmanifest, almost unmanifest, like Ishvara manifests only through Maya Shakti, not yet the emotion, the mind, or the physical creation. You are one with that. If you don't know the truth, Andha Samadhi. I mean, if you don't know the truth, Andha Samadhi. If you know the truth, Jnana Samadhi. Okay. Importance is knowing the truth, not the Samadhi practice. But it is given as Avantara Phalam, because whenever a meditation is given in the Upanishad, you will talk about the Punya Papa and that Phalam also. Okay. Alright. Therefore, this is it. Bhavati evam veda. So, what has he done here? Okay. What has he done? Look at it. There is only some associative logic for loading, waking with akara, etc., isn't it? What is the big logic about it? Tell me. Just because it forms a certain order, that's it. Is first, waking as first. Why waking as first? You can put sleep also as first, no? Can you not put sleep as first? Deep sleep? As a baby, you are sleeping all the time. Then you have to be woken up for everything. So sleep is the most important. You can use that logic also. But just because waking state is in your order of reality, we talk about this first. Okay. There is no big logic. You can use any logic. It's called association. Because why are you saying Rama is in this form? Why are you saying that? Because there are some dhyana slokas, no? Ajana Bahu, Kodanda Pani, etc., etc. So there are some descriptions. But why are you putting that thing curved like that? Some associative logic you will bring in. Okay. Yeah. Why is Dakshinamurti put under a banyan tree? Because the dhyanam is like that. So if there is no banyan tree, what will you do? Can't invoke Dakshinamurti. Banyan tree नहीं है, कैसे करेगा? So that is not true. Okay, there is some sort of description, some type of associations are there. So when you contemplate, it's easier for you. So similarly here, akara, ukara, makara. Akara with waking, ukara with dream, and makara with deep sleep. Deep sleep, that is a state. But the consciousness manifests in the totality of the state is what we are invoking. So, because Omkara stands for Ishvara, and you are looking at Ishvara in a threefold manner. From the standpoint of the physical creation, from the standpoint of only knowledge, and from the standpoint of Maya Shakti. The three together is Ishvara actually. Only one, each facet you are looking at. Am I clear in this? Because some people are looking blank. So, all upasanas are like that. They don't have to be based on facts. Look at it. On one syllable, ekamatra. Again, another thing. Omkara is supposed to be ekamatra, one matra. So when you chant Om, it's supposed to be one. Om. That's it. Not Om. What's wrong with you? Now, for some energy work, etc., you use it like that. Okay? For some energy work, etc., to create that vibration in your system, etc., you use it like that. But that is using Om in a different manner. But if you are really looking at Omkara, it's ekamatra. Om. That's it. And another thing about Om is, it is a pratika, not a pratima. What's the difference between a pratika and a pratima? A pratima has a physical form, like a murti. Okay, Rama, Krishna, etc. Murti, Dakshinamurti, Devi. These are all murtis. It's a pratima. A pratika is only a sound symbol. Only sound. So really speaking, you are not supposed to paint Om anywhere. So if you have done that in your puja room, this, that, etc., please take it out. Okay. Why? Because when you hear the word Om, what is the thought that is supposed to come into your mind? When you hear table, what comes into your mind?
Ishvara.
Ishvara. So when you think of Om, Ishvara is supposed to come in your mind. But now what comes into your mind when you say Om? Why? It's not. That's not. That is why they kept it only as a pratika, not as a pratima. Because Om stands for Ishvara. So what form are you going to give Ishvara? And Ishvara, that is everything. Ishvara, consciousness manifests in Maya Shakti, consciousness manifests in Hiranyagarbha, consciousness manifests in the physical creation, Ishvara. The totality is Omkara. So can you see how the culture actually has been damaged by well-meaning idiots? So at least in our personal lives we can start eliminating it. You can't eliminate in public place there because there are plenty of idiots who do it. One idiot had painted that in our ashram temple also. I got it removed. It's not meant to be. Okay, it's only a pratika. Because you can invoke Ishvara in a sheer sound. Ishvara is invoked in sounds. Like how you invoke, it's not done nowadays so much. You invoke Goddess Saraswati in the notes of the veena. Those of you who are into music, Saraswati is worshipped and invoked in the notes of the veena. Such an upasana is rarely done nowadays, but it is there. Okay? So similarly here is purely a sound symbol. So when we use it, let us start using it only as a sound symbol. One of Pujya Swamiji's devotees and big donor in Bombay, Pujya Swamiji's. Now she's an elderly lady, not very active. Gave me a pendant Omkara. So Swamiji, this is for you. Now, with devotion and love she's giving it. So I said thank you, kept it and kept it away. I don't know where it is. I'm not going to wear it on my Rudraksha or something. It's not meant to be. When I think of Om, I think of the consciousness manifest in all this. Not Om. I don't want to associate with that. So be careful of these things, okay? In public life, you can't avoid it. As I said, there are well-meaning, ignorant people around. But in your personal thing, you can avoid it. Okay. So if you want to do any meditation, what are you going to do? In this context, if you want to meditate on any one aspect, one would be to chant Om and invoke Ishvara totality. That would be the best way of doing it. And it is also said, unless you can handle it, don't chant Om by itself. Add it to any other mantra. Okay? Add it to any other mantra. Like Om Namah Shivaya, for example. Om Ishaya Namaha. Om Devyai Namaha. Add it. Okay? Not supposed to be used only Omkara. Because there are certain ways of using Omkara also. And chanting Omkara by itself is very good for sannyasis. Why Vairagya grows. A sannyasi better have Vairagya. A householder, if too much of Vairagya happens, gadbad ho jayega. Don't you feel like going and working today? No. Kya karne ke kaam se? The pursuit of wealth doesn't give me any fulfillment. Or don't you feel like cooking today? Morning, afternoon, dinner. Okay, whole life is going only in that. No. Create too many issues. Okay, create too many issues. So the practicality of things, they'll say, add Omkara to this. Because when you add a particular form, there are other dimensions that's coming in a form. Okay. Like when you are worshipping Om Namo Narayanaya. Okay. Narasya Paramayanam. Therefore, moksha part comes into it. But also other things like prosperity, etc., which you need in life, comes into it. Okay. So because of that, add it like that. Okay. And even if you are doing pure Omkara, put it as Ishvara. Whole cosmos. That is better off like that. Okay.
Swamiji, when we do prayer in yoga, first we chant 3 times Om.
I know, with an elongated version.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why? Ask the teacher why. They won't have any explanation. Some idiot started it and they keep it going. See, there is a way of elongating it and using that vibrations to heighten your energies. But that's not how it is done in a classical yoga. Oh, 3 times Om bol do, ho gaya kaam.
Then we say the prayer also.
Exactly. There's a prayer also. Yeah. That I'm only talking about that elongated chanting. If Om you are adding to your prayer, it is okay. But you don't add it like that. You make a huge elongated chant. And people will be vying to see who can make it longer. ये सब नाटकबाजी होता है. No, I seen that. If they are using it to heighten certain energies in you, okay, then it's a different thing. But then you have to know how to use it. Just by using an elongated chanting, it doesn't happen. It has to be targeted. The sound has to be targeted. A sound is an instrument. A sound is a weapon. Why do you have in our temples the ghanta, for example? Why do you have the ghanta? It is indication of sound as a weapon. By just ringing the bell is not a weapon, okay? But it's indicating that, symbolic of that. It's symbolic of that. Now, to use sound as a weapon, you will have to have a high degree of mantra siddhi. Mantra siddhi. They say, some enemy charged at that rishi, he just uttered one syllable and the asura dropped down dead. That was using sound as a weapon. So, symbolic of that is the bell that you keep there. Because bell is all sound. So, similarly, when you are doing Om chanting for an energy, that sound and vibrations has to be targeted to different centers in your system. In modern yoga classes, nobody teaches that. Nobody knows that. None of the teachers know that. How to use it. And I also will not teach that unless I can keep a daily monitor on how you are doing it. Gadbad ho sakta hai. Something will go haywire in you and then you will say, oh, I did this practice and it all went haywire. I don't want you all to be suffering. And why are you doing it? Energy hai na? Enough to do your studies, to do your work, everything is there. Na? Both ho gaya. In Buddhistic practices also Om chanting is there. They use Om. Because Buddhism is not all that different from Hinduism. It's an offshoot, like Sikhism is. Ekunkara, Satanam, etc. is what? Offshoot. So it is there in all this thing. And the warrior monks knew about it. All this energy work was done by the monks who were both warriors and this. So you find among the akhadas, etc., those who are shastradhari, they will know about these things. So that's a different system by itself. Okay, it's a different system by itself. I mean, in a yoga class, everyone does it. ठीक है, some mild 1% effect will be there, because after all, it's a vibration. It is affecting your whole body. Okay. So next time in a yoga class you're doing it, feel the vibrations in your whole body. That much at least you can do. More than that, you have to practice as someone is monitoring you regularly. Otherwise, it doesn't happen. Okay. Now, after having the Upanishad says all this, then after that the Karika starts as usual. The Upanishad has said, but the Karika here is very simple. Okay. Vishwasya tattva vivikshayam adi samanyam utkatam matra sampratita tau syad apti samanyam evacha. He is just repeating it. Okay, it's earlier repetition. He says Vishwasya atattva vivikshayam. Vishwasya tattva vivikshayam. When you are looking at the Vishwas tattva, adani samanyam utkatam. Okay, you are looking at the similarity between the Vakar being the first and the Akara being the first. Matra sampavutittau. Okay. Syad apti samanyam eva. Apti. A is common in every letter. Vishwa, every other dream, etc. depends upon the Vishwa. Therefore, it pervades that. Therefore, let us take Akara as Vishwam. Then Tejasya Utva Vijnanam Utkarshe Darshati Sputam. Okay. Matra Sampadvattau Syad Ubhayatvam Tatadidam. Tatavidam. Same thing. Tejasya Tva Vijnanam. Tejasaha. Utkarsha Darshati Sputam. Utkarsham, because all about knowledge. Therefore, Utkarsham. Matra Sampapatittau Syad. And when you take it to the Matra, simple. Ubhayatva, because it is in between. Tatha Vidim. That's also equally clear, he says. Just repetition of what the Upanishad has said. But because as a Karika is supposed to mention it, he is mentioning it. Makara Bhave Prajnasya Manasa Manyam Utkatam Matra Sampatitau Tu Layas Samanyam Evacha. Layas Samanyam Evacha. Makara Bhave Prajnasya. Makara and Prajna are equated. Why? Mana Samanyam Utkatam. Because of the similarity, he says. Matra Sampatitau Lama es Samanyam Evacha. Why? Because Laya takes place there. Yeah. To measure and resolving point. So, just a repetition. Now the question is, what about the Turiya? Where will the Turiya go?
Turiya is the one on which all the three are based on.
Yeah. So all
That
the
is
three
the
are.
underlying.
So they will say it is Amatra Om. What is Amatra Om? Om without a matra. What do you mean without a matra? Without a sound. So without a sound, what is that?
Silence.
The silence from which the Omkara came, the silence into which the Omkara is resolved. You sit and you are chanting Om. Comes from silence, resolves into silence. When Omkara is there, is the silence there? Or the silence is not there? Does the silence disappear when the sound is there? Silence is the base for sound.
That is the base on which all these things are based.
Silence is the base for sound. If silence was not there as the base, you would not hear a sound. That's why when there is a cacophony of voices, do you hear anything? That's why between word and word you are supposed to have a pause, no? A small break. Why? Otherwise the word will not be clear. Therefore, the silence on which the sound depends upon, the silence from which the sound emerges, that silence is talked about as the Turiyam. Why? That silence is present in all of them. The silence is independent of all of them. Sounds come and go, silence remains. Silence is not absence of sound, silence is in spite of sound. These are the basis by which I put my Japa Dhyanam on. And I teach Japa Dhyanam. And all of you have listened to it at some time or the other, in some camp or the other. This is it. The silence from where the chant emerges, the silence into which it is resolved. That silence is Turiyam. Why? Turiyam is there, waker is there. Turiyam is there, dreamer is there. Turiyam is there, deep sleeper is there. Turiyam is there, Ishvara is there. Turiyam is there, Hiranyagarbha is there. Turiyam is there, Vaishwanaraha is there. All of them depend on pure consciousness. So pure consciousness is the reality. And that is represented by the silence. For the sake of this, they will call it as Amatra Om, etc. Because somewhere you have to bring that Om connection. Therefore, you will say Amatra Om. It's actually the silence. Om without a Matra. Why? What form is there in Turiya? No form. Therefore, no matra. Therefore, the Turiya is represented by the silence. Turiya cannot be represented by any one thing again. So, everything is manifest from consciousness. The manifested Ishvara is represented by Omkara. The unmanifest Ishvara, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahman, is represented by the silence. That's why in Japa Dhyanam, when we do, I say focus on the silence. That silence is not different from you. All that we have done. Okay. If you want to do sometime in this class, let me know. We will do it. Okay. Yeah. But this is simple. That focusing on the silence between the chanting. Now, there are two types of japas again when you do. ये सब बोलना पड़ता है because level of ignorance is high. One japa, like you have taken a decision. Every day I will do one mala. That is counting. You are doing japa as a sadhana where the number becomes important for you. 108 Gayatris every day. Or no, I am doing Pura Sharan. I will do 10 malas, 50 malas, 100 malas a day. Okay, number. So their counting becomes important. A mala is meant to count. Number one, predominantly, okay? Since we are on the topic. And also create an association. Listen to this is important. Create an association. What is the association? You are moving a bead only when you have chanted in your mind. So supposing your mind is distracted and you drop the chant, this also will stop. The bead movement also will stop. That means what? The lack of friction here will bring your mind back to the chanting. This is why a mala is used. But human minds are great. Anything can become mechanical. That's why Kabir said that. Mala to karame fire, jeeb fire mukh mahi, manwa to chahod sai fire, yah to sumiran nahi. It has become mechanical. Sometimes I have seen people doing that. And someone came and told me, Swamiji, stop using the mala. Why? I find that by the time I am chanting one, I moved twice here. Why does that happen? Why does that happen? You should know why is it happening, because you are doing it, not me. You are in a hurry to finish. You are in a hurry to finish. Because number now, na? हो जाने क्या? Have you gone to any of these famous temples? Maybe a Shiva temple. And ask them to chant the Rudram, and you've seen with what speed they do it. By the time you are in the third Hanuvaka, they have finished the whole thing. Well, it's a job, you have to finish it. पूरा रुद्र chant करने का. अच्छा 1500 रुपया लेता है, अभिषेक करेगा जब सब किया अभी. That's okay. So if you are looking at Punya Papa, that's fine. That's all right. This is not a matter of Punya Papa when you are doing Japa Dhyanam, etc. Japa Dhyanam you are not doing for Punya Papa. Japa Dhyanam you are doing to center on yourself. That's why the focus on the silence. So when you focus on the silence, you are what you are. That's it. Now Japa Dhyanam can be done if you know the truth clearly, or even if you don't have very great clarity, you can still do Japa Dhyanam, get familiar with the silence of what you are. Okay. Then later on we can build the Japa Dhyanam into Nididhyasana. Can develop it into Nididhyasana. Clear about this or not clear? कुछ क्वेश्चन है तो पूछ लो.
So it doesn't matter which mantra you say when you're doing the Japadhanam.
No, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Number doesn't matter. How many times you have chanted doesn't matter.
But we are using the mala, so
No, you don't use the mala when you're doing japa dhyana. Mala is used only when you have to count. In japa dhyanam, you don't have to use the mala. In fact, better if you don't use it. Don't say I'm going to do. Don't say I'm going to do 108 times and make it japa dhyana. You'll be more bothered about the number than the dhyana, because it may drop. You may be lost in the silence for 1 minute, 1 second, 10 minutes. I don't know. It's okay. But if you focus on the number, that won't happen. That rootedness in the silence will not happen if you are counting. Therefore, in japa dhyanam, do not use a mala. For counting, and you're doing it as a sadhana, I will do 108 chants. Use a mala. That will help you to keep count and by association to be alert. That will help. That's why either they will usually, when they use a mala, they'll use a mala, either there is friction, like a rudraksha or something, or sandalwood, there's some friction, or something that feels cool, like a crystal or something. Because there is some sensation available. So there, you are not meditating, you are not contemplating, you are doing japa. In dhyanam, you are converting the japa into a dhyana. You are using the japa to go into dhyana.
And you must sit upright.
Yeah, you can't be sleeping and doing it.
Lying down.
As it is, you'll go to sleep. As it is, a problem in meditation is you feeling sleepy. Then on top of it, you are lying down. What do you expect?
Okay.
Yeah. Some people say, when I go for my walk, I do japa dhyanam. When you go for your walk and you want to do some japa, you can do. But don't make it japa dhyanam. You can't. Because you have to bother about the traffic. You have to bother about bumping against other people who are walking. So don't try this nonsense of trying to save time. Japa dhyanam, sitting down one place, do it. Or sitting down, you're going to go to sleep, stand up and do it. But don't blame me if you fall asleep standing up and you fall. Human beings are great. Yeah, Bharati, you have a question.
Swamiji, it's not clear to me why you're saying not to use the mala.
Not to use the mala only when you are converting japa into a dhyanam, because number is not important there. Because you are trying to resolve yourself into that silence, no? Identify with the silence. Therefore, if you are focusing on number, your mind is distracted by that. It won't go into the silence. But if you have decided that every day you will do 108 times of a particular japa, use the mala. Understand what is meant for what. The mala is meant for that, for numbers, counting, etc. And to bring a certain amount of alertness. Japa dhyanam, number is not important, therefore you are not using the mala. Focusing on the silence is important. Whether you have chanted 3 times or 100 times, it is not important. The silence is important. So, you are not using the mala. What is meant for what is the question. It is not that because I have a mala and I wear it and I carry it all over, I am going to use it for everything. No. Meant to be used only for particular things. So that is where it goes. That is why, supposing like for example your regular mala that you do is a Gayatri, for example. It's a long. You can't use that for japa dhyana. It's too long. Om Bhurghuva Swa Tat Savitur Varenyam Vargo Devasya Dhimai Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. What silence are you talking about? Lamba chauda hai. Or Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. It's too long. You have to break it up then. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, 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 Hare, Hare. You will forget it in between where you stopped. Yeah, होता है ना. If for a minute you are in that silence, you may forget where you started and stopped. Doesn't matter. Yeah, doesn't matter. So use a small, short mantra for japa dhyana. Simple things, but these become important. When you are doing a practice, these simple things become important. Therefore, whatever you are using for as a sadhana of numbers you are doing, like sometimes someone will tell you, do 3 malas until Guru Purnima or something like that. Until Guru Purnima, do the Dakshinamurti japa, 1 mala every day. Good idea. Okay. Guru Purnima, I think, is on 6th of July or something. We are celebrating it on 6th. Yeah, in the newsletter we have mentioned we are celebrating it on 6th, though the Guru Purnima is on 10th. We will always celebrate the Sunday before if possible. So, we'll do that in that. Yeah, in silence in the beginning implies no thought. But later on you will recognize that even when thought is there, silence is there. So in the beginning, yes, it's true. So if you are going to do the sadhana that you will do so much of chant up to then, use a mala, fine. But the mantra for japa dhyanam, keep it short and sweet. Short and sweet. Help work. Okay. How many of you would like to do a japa dhyanam next class? Please raise your hand. Let me know. How do I know? Okay. All right. Next class. Okay. Next class we will be ending the Agama Prakarana. After that, we will do one round of japa dhyanam, so that you get a hang of it and you can do that. Okay. Any questions or clarifications? Okay. Japa dhyanam, all that will get clarified in the this that you are doing. Okay. Later on in the Vaititya Prakaranam, it comes back again. That time we will highlight it even more. Not Vaitityam, the Alata Shanti Prakaranam. We will highlight it even more there. There the obstacles for meditation, etc. are also mentioned. We will handle it that type also. Okay. So with that, a good place to stop. Okay. Om Tat Sat.